Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. All right, I'm gonna call my show Peter Like Show today because I'm a little bit optimistic now that it's the first day of spring, and for once I actually got a good night of sleep, and well, in large part because I was so crashed out yesterday. See, I tend to move in a sine wave, right? I get very depressed, crashed out. I sleep really well. That often boosts my mood. It allows me to overextend myself with all sorts of stuff that I want to do in my life, and then I crash, right? I tend to have cycles like that, believe it or not. I don't know if there's a term for that kind of. It's kind of like a market cycle, right? But with your emotions instead. And I'm on the good side of that cycle now. But when I thought about it, this past winter was not bad at all. I got a lot done, but I gotta recognize my limitations of my bandwidth. Let's review a little bit about what happened this past winter. You gotta remember what set the tone for this winter. Last summer, I was all alone, and when I got COVID-19 during a heat wave, I had nobody taking care of me. And that bugged me, and I never wanted to go through that again. And I vowed to meet the right people in my life, right? Not necessarily a romantic partner, by the way, but the right crew in my life. And to be fair, if I got the same COVID-19 this summer, I'm probably in a better position now for two reasons. Number one, I do have people I could pick up the phone and call for help. And I actually did have to resort to that over something that happened earlier this winter. And number two, I have a lot of money in my pocket compared to last summer. And what really constrained things last summer was that, well, I did have some money, but I was cheap. And I didn't want to order a delivery, so I went out with COVID-19, and it caused a lot of drama. And I don't think I have to resort to that anymore. I'm a little bit more open to actually improving myself rather than just. You remember last summer I was cheap. I had some money, but I wanted to accumulate strategic metals and a bunch of other stuff. Right? And I have different mentality now. First of all, I don't have a whole lot of space to just keep stacking anymore. And second, I recognize there's value in other stuff now. So times have shifted a little bit. But the other thing that set the tone for last winter was a couple of missed opportunities. I was at a board game meetup when this girl was really nice to me, and unfortunately, the reason I didn't make the move on her was at the time I was juggling two jobs, the art projects. I was juggling other challenges in my life, and as I got to know her, I learned that she had a chronic health condition. I just didn't want, I just couldn't take the bandwidth anymore. And I hope to see her again at some point. I've since, you got to understand, I made a fool of myself at that board game meetup. I didn't go for many months, but I have since straightened things out with a few other people there, and I hope to eventually find her. And more than anything else, just atone for making rash judgment about her back then, right? Even if that's all I get to do, that will clear that chapter out of my life, right? And I feel badly about it, and so I made a goal to never write somebody off like that again. And also, I needed to find the right people in my life so that I wouldn't have to go through what happened last summer again. And I guess technically this was during the fall, but my friend at a meetup group helped set me up on my first blind date in ages. And did it go well? Yes and no. Didn't really hit this. She's probably not going to be my future spouse or anything like that. But I met a lot of people through her. Now I did get into some conflict with one guy that I met through her, in large part because I was overextended this past month. I won't talk about it here because I still want to resolve everything there. But after that one blind date, it was off to the races because I felt confident and I felt like I had solid footing again. I was in Taiwan when I, for some reason that I still cannot fully understand, I reactivated an online dating profile that I had not used in many, many years. Actually, when I first logged on to it, I was aghast at what I saw that I had posted years earlier. I was aghast at some conversations that I had on there years earlier, and I had to delete and start over again. I had to take, first of all, I had to take new photographs because I used to be very overweight. I had eating disorder problems. Unfortunately, my eating disorder has kind of returned with a vengeance, in large part because running myself very thin with the return to dating. I'm running myself very thin with the art projects, and that's something that I have to work on. You got to understand, I made a lot of my progress with correcting my eating disorders in the context of the COVID quarantine, and so the last thing I know how to do is how to balance a social life with good eating habits, right? Because I I, I never really tried it, but you know what? I um I corrected my eating disorder in the context of isolation. Maybe I could do it in the context of social life too. I just need to do it, right? You got to remember, it took me 2 years to correct my eating disorder in the context of isolation, right? So maybe I just need the years under my belt, and I'm working on that right now, right? Unfortunately, all of this return to dating has come at a cost. You got to understand, I am autistic. After going on a date for me is the mental equivalent of a very painful workout or even a painful surgery, if you will. It takes time for me to recover from it, is what I mean by that. I got into a huge fight with my roommate because he did not appreciate that. And so he says that we all have bad days. Get over yourself and all that. And so after a stressful event, like sometimes I just need to come home and recharge. I'm not in the mood to talk to him, and he's very talkative, very passionate about what he does. I won't make comment on what he does, but very passionate. And so I still need to straighten that out. So that's why I'm not really talking too much about the details of that. But yesterday, uh, again, I need to recharge after a stressful date. I ended up sleeping in my car after that, and hopefully I will figure that out eventually because obviously I do want to have a normal life, and maybe I just need to live with roommates who understand the concept of recharging, right? And to be fair, I probably have overstepped people's boundaries when they needed to. Maybe my previous roommates, they might not need to recharge after a date, but they might need to recharge after other things, after their work, right? I tend to do my work very well. I don't, a typical workday doesn't require as much recharging for me, right? But it might be different for somebody else, right? Um, but it's very difficult for me. And I, another thing that I'm kind of battling right now is that I'm a little bit disheartened about the recent situation with the tariffs, right? Bismuth is now going for what, 30, 40, $50 a pound. And yeah, I recognize I don't have space for more bismuth, but I had hoped to develop an art career with that. Now I can't sell any of that because I can't replace it. And so that's kind of disheartening. Uh, and that's probably part of the reason that I've been overextending myself with returning to the dating scene, and I really mean it when I say overextend. I feel like a lot has been put on the wayside. For example, my eating disorder issues, my getting into serious fights. Yesterday, I almost got into a fight with a student at GCC, a handicapped student no less. He thought I was laughing at him. I didn't see him, I didn't hear him, and I really hate it when somebody refuses to believe me when I ran into this situation with my roommate too. How do you deal with it when your roommate or somebody important, a student at GCC, students are really you can think of that almost like my boss, right? Complains about something, you apologize, but they refuse to believe, I didn't see him, I didn't see him. And he was like, I was laughing at him or something like that. And after I couldn't convince him anymore, I said, what a funny guy. Because I thought maybe sarcasm could get him a little bit better than actual explanation. And to be fair, I'm just completely zoned out. I'm bombed out from overextending myself to the point that I'm jeopardizing my job, jeopardizing my health, jeopardizing my life. And I'm upset about all the ups and downs of the dating life and with the tariffs, and now I'm jeopardizing my job. If I lose my job, I'm going to just add more to that heap of frustration. That's how I tend to go down usually. And all right, hopefully I'll see that handicapped student. He's not in my department, but hopefully I'll see him again when he's having a better day, and apologize to him a little bit in a little bit more detail at some better point. But I need to be more situationally aware. It's one thing to not see a handicapped guy and be in his way. It's quite another to be not situationally aware when I'm driving, when I'm dealing with something else that might be a little bit more important. This is the Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum.